Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rhiannon and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I would like to read in October. Now you can probably tell by the thumbnail that I have a lot of books that I want to get through in October. This happens to me every single year. Of course, Halloween's coming up. I want to read all the spooky, atmospheric, Halloween-esque books. And so I do always have quite a big list. I don't think I'm going to get through half of these, to be completely honest with you. Work at the minute is a bit hectic. For those of you who don't know, I am a foundation phase teacher this year. And so the children do require a lot of attention and I do find myself working late into the hours of the night after school as well. So I'm not entirely sure how many of these books I will get to, but I did want to make a video encompassing all these different options just to let you guys know what I'm in the mood for and to maybe recommend you some books that you haven't heard of before. Right, I feel like that's all I have to say in this intro, so without further ado, let's dive into the books. So the first book I have to show you guys is one that I am currently reading, and that one is Gilded by Marissa Meyer. Now it is going to be hard to show you guys this dust jacket because it does want to go all floppy, but as I mentioned, I am currently reading this book. The physical book is downstairs and honestly I'm just too lazy to go and get it, so I do have the dust jacket here. This is a retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, which is one of my favourite fairy tales. I have always had a fascination with this story and I don't know why. I think it's the magic behind it all, the kind of curse element to it, and of course Rumpelstiltskin himself is just such a well-known character and trickster. So when I saw that Marissa Meyer was bringing out Gilded, I of course had to pick it up. I have read Heartless by the same author, which is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and it's one of my favourite ever books, and I am happy to say that from the first 150 pages that I've read, I am really enjoying this one. I want to say that these books are so easy to read because the writing style is definitely not the most difficult to get into. I'm not saying it's bad in any way, I just feel like these books are some that you can pick up and without realising you've read 100 pages in one sitting. Like, you really are sucked into the story. It's nothing too flowery or dramatic, it's just kind of, this is what's happening and this is how we're going to deal with it, and I very much like that, especially at the minute because I'm in a massive reading slump. So this is definitely what I have been needing at the minute and I'm really happy that I am enjoying it. This book definitely fits the Halloween vibe as well because we have an Earl King in here, which is a kind of king of the dead, and with every moon cycle and full moon he goes on a hunt to try and hunt down some magical creatures in this land to add to his personal disgusting collection. One night though he is tracking two creatures and they go to our main character Serylda's house to try and escape the Earl King. Now normally no one would ever dare get in his way. They would lock their doors, shut their blinds and just go to sleep every full moon, but Serylda has a thirst for adventure. She wants to know what's going on in the world, and so she does decide to harbour these two creatures, and in doing so she tells the Earl King a big lie, which is that she can spin straw into gold. This obviously has massive consequences. If you know the story of Rumpelstiltskin then you will kind of have an inkling on what's going to happen, but as I mentioned, this is such a good read so far, very compelling, very easy to get into, and I think that the sequel's coming out later on this month actually, so hopefully I will be reading that in November. Next up we have The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. This is the fourth book in the Truly Devious series, however this is the prequel to that first core trilogy, and once again this is a book that I have already started. Essentially I had a book that I carried over from September. I was listening to the audiobook for it and I finally finished it a few days ago, and of course that meant I needed a new audiobook. Now this was one that I've had saved for a while. I listened to the whole Truly Devious trilogy on audio. I really do recommend consuming these stories that way. I had such an amazing time, and so this one was definitely a high priority for me. I am not too sure how far in I am. I want to say I'm about 100 pages into this one as well, but because I have it on audio I'm not too sure. Okay, so according to Scribd I have 3 hours and 16 minutes left of the audiobook because I listen at 2 times the speed, and I'm currently on chapter 7 of 32. I'm just realising now, I think I said that this is a prequel to the trilogy, but it's actually a sequel. The events in this book take place after what has happened in the Truly Devious book, so please ignore my earlier statement, but because it's a sequel I obviously don't really want to tell you anything about this book in particular because it might spoil the first trilogy for you guys. But in the first book, Truly Devious, we follow a girl named Stevie Bell and she is accepted into Ellingham Academy. Now this is actually a very different type of school setting because instead of teaching the traditional subjects, Ellingham Academy Academy lets the children that want to apply decide what they want to study, essentially. If they have any talents or interests, they just present that to Ellingham Academy on admission, and then if the board thinks that they would do well there, then they will obviously let them attend. So Stevie does have an interest in true crime, which I definitely think is why I connected to these books so much, because I personally do have an interest in true crime as well. And she goes to this academy with the intention of solving a decades-old murder. So way back when this school opened, the wife and child of the owner of this school, who is Albert Ellingham, goes missing. The only real clue that was left was a list of riddles, and at the end of that was signed Truly Devious. Now, this has been a cold case ever since it happened, and as I mentioned, Stevie's intentions is to solve it. So we follow her as she tries to piece together what has happened, as well as getting a glimpse into the past, because this book is told in dual timeline as well. As I mentioned, this is such a good series, definitely a spooky one for October, and I am really looking forward to continue on with this book and to hopefully finish it off this weekend. The next book I would like to get to is Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This is actually quite a small book, so I feel like this will be one that I will read in one sitting. And to be honest with you, I don't really know anything about this book except that it's set in a kind of haunted house, which is really interesting. But let me just read you the synopsis. It says, near the end of her time at Maryland's School for Girls, Olivia receives a letter from an uncle she's never met, summoning her to his estate, Gallant. But when she arrives, she discovers that the letter was years late. Her uncle is dead and the estate is empty, save for her cousin Matthew and the servants. Olivia is permitted to remain, but must follow two rules. Don't go out after dusk and always stay on the right side of the crumbling wall. But Gallant is a house of secrets, a house sitting in lonely vigil, a place where the ghouls are powerful. As Olivia searches for answers about her family, her past, she discovers a dark reflection of everything she knew, an ancient realm where ghosts take form and the Dark Master sits waiting for her. Now, doesn't that just sound like the perfect spooky read for October? What's cool about this one is it does also have pictures in it. I really hope that every edition has these, but this is actually the Illumicrate edition, so it might be a bit different, but I definitely think that that will add to the reading experience. Hopefully it will make it an even better one, and this is actually one that I've been meaning to pick up ever since it came out, so I'm really hoping that I do manage it this month and I can let you guys know my thoughts on it. The next book I'd like to get to is Straight On Till Morning by Liz Braswell. This is part of the Disney Twisted Tales series, and it of course retells the story of Peter Pan. Now, I did actually post a poll on Twitter asking you guys which book from the Twisted Tales series I should read first and prioritise this month, and of course you did choose this one. But what I'm actually thinking of doing is filming a themed reading vlog for you where I do read all of the books that I own from the Disney Twisted Tales series, including What Once Was Mine, which is a Tangled retelling, Unbirthday, which is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, Go the Distance, which is a Hercules retelling, and of course Straight On Till Morning. I definitely think that would be doable. The text in these is quite big. I'll just give you an example on the page there. And something exciting that is happening at the end of this month is that I am actually going to Disneyland Paris with Tom, my cousin Adriana, and her partner Sean. So I definitely want to get in the Disney mood. I'm of course rewatching all the films right now, but I would like to get to these books as well, just because I want to fit as much Disney in my life as I can before going to Paris. So I definitely think that is a contender. Please let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. Of course it would be spoiler free, but it would just be my general thoughts, letting you know if I think these books are worth your time, and of course whether I enjoy them or not. If I don't manage to read all of those books though, I do of course want to read this one, mainly because I asked you guys to vote on a book for me. You of course chose this one, and I really would like to get to it because of that. So this one is going to be top priority for me, but then if I can, I would like to get to the other three as well. Next up, I have Poison Study by Maurier v. Snyder. This is one that's been on my shelf, guys, for years, and I've just never picked them up, which is so annoying because I feel like this is a story that I'm really going to enjoy. I think it's the fact that there are 6 books, I want to say, in this core series, and a few companion novels as well, that is putting me off reading these. But I think it's finally time to try and get these read, to see whether I like them or not, or to see if I can unhaul them, because yeah, it's a bit ridiculous now that these have been on my shelves for so long. So I do want to read them. Hopefully I love them. But this month I am of course starting off with the first book, which is Poison Study. For this one it says, in the territory of Ixia, control is maintained through the code of behaviour forbidding the practice of magic, but danger lurks in mysterious places. Imprisoned for murder, Yelena Zoltana's punishment is death, unless she accepts the position of the commander of Ixia's food taster, and risks assassination from poison daily. In a world where magic equals death and freedom is for the lucky few, the battle for Yelena's life has just begun. So it definitely sounds like an interesting one. You can see just on the back cover here how many books there are, which is a lot. But as I mentioned, hopefully I will read this book, enjoy it, and want to pick up the second book straight away, because it's about damn time that I read these books. Next up we have a book that I feel like I've included on every October TBR since I've done them, and that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I've heard nothing but amazing things about this book, and I'm really angry at myself that I still haven't read it yet. My excuse every year is that I want to wait until October, just because I feel like those are the types of vibes that I get from this book, but then October rolls around, I get too busy, I start reading other things, and this one gets pushed to the side. This does have quite a short synopsis, so I will just read it out. It says, on a trip to the south of France, the shy heroine of Rebecca falls in love with Maxime de Winter, a healthy, handsome widower. But as they arrive at Manderley, his Cornish mansion, a change comes over Max and the young bride is filled with dread. Friendless in the isolated house, she realises that she barely knows the man she has married, and in every corner of the room is the phantom of his beautiful first wife, Rebecca. I don't know anything about this book except for what I've read from the synopsis, but as I mentioned, everyone seems to love this book. I really would like to get in on that and know what this book is about, so this is one that I really do want to read this year, and hopefully I can manage to do it. Next up we have Unraveler by Frances Hardinge. This is actually an ARC copy that Rachel from Rachel Kerris gave to me at Yalc. I tried to win this twice and I failed both times, but thankfully Rachel won this. She didn't want it, and so she gave it to me, which is really nice of her. Thank you once again, Rachel. I believe that this book is actually out by now, which is really annoying because I really did want to read it before release date, but as I mentioned, I have been in a reading slump this year and I just didn't want to pick this book up during the summer months. I have read from Frances Hardinge before and have really loved her writing style and the atmosphere in her books. The one that I read is The Lie Tree, which I believe is an award-winning novel, and it definitely deserves it. It's a very strange premise, but as I mentioned, the writing's phenomenal, the setting is just so eerie, and the atmosphere in the book is just amazing. So when I saw this, I really did want it, especially because this one deals with a curse. So it says, in a world where anyone can create a life-destroying curse, only one person has the power to unravel them. Kellen does not fully understand his talent, but helps those transformed maliciously, including Nettle. Recovered from entrapment in bird form, she is now his constant companion and closest ally. But Kellen has also been cursed, and unless he and Nettle can remove his curse, Kellen is in danger of unraveling everything and everyone around him. So it sounds like a high-stakes YA fantasy, which I definitely haven't been loving YA fantasy recently, but as I mentioned, I've read from this author before. I know that I enjoy her writing style, and a book about curses is sure to get me hooked. So this is on my October TBR. As I mentioned, I may not get to all of these books, but I would like to if I could. And then the last book I'm going to talk about today is a bit of a different one for me, but that is The Shadow Glass by Josh Winning. I first saw this book on Jade from JD Ray Reads channel, I believe. She hauled it, talked about it, and I was definitely intrigued from the get-go. I honestly have no idea what this book is about, so instead of trying to waffle on about something I don't know, I am just going to read you the synopsis. I'm really sorry about that. I know a lot of people don't like when people do that, but if I don't, I won't have a clue and you won't have a clue. So let me just tell you what this book is about. It says Jack Corman is haunted by his father's failure. Director Bob Corman poured his heart and soul into The Shadow Glass, a mesmeric fantasy film populated by puppets. It flopped, turning Bob into a self-pitying alcoholic. Jobless and mourning his late father, Jack returns home, a place overflowing with movie memorabilia and painful memories. But Jack's world is thrown into chaos when the puppets in the attic start talking. So begins a desperate quest to save London from the evil creatures of his childhood stories. With fanboy Toby and studio suit Amelia in tow, Jack must confront the world of The Shadow Glass and do his father proud. I remember why I picked it up now. It's because I thought it sounded a bit like Doctor Who, and if you guys don't know, I really do love that show. So yeah, this is definitely 80s vibes, possibly horror, we shall see, but a very different pick for me. It is multimedia as well. It does have a few different elements to it, so again, hopefully that will make it a bit of a quicker read. And even though this one is out of my comfort zone, I feel like it's one that I am going to enjoy, and once again, hopefully I do manage to read it this month. So these are all of the books that I would like to get to in October. As I mentioned, it's definitely an ambitious stack. I might read other things. I honestly have no idea. I'm just going to see how the month goes, but these are the books that I would really like to get to if I can, and hopefully I don't start feeling slumpy again in October. Please do let me know what you thought of these stack of books, and also if you're planning on reading any of these books yourself. I feel like I have quite a good selection here, and I'm really excited to dive into October. If you've made it this far into the video though and would like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and leave me some spooky emojis down below. You can interpret this however you want, but I will have some emojis listed in my description box that you can copy and paste if you want to, but anything that you deem to be spooky is acceptable. So if you don't have anything in particular that you would like to say, but you'd like to let me know that you're still here, please go ahead and do that now. As well as that, don't forget to click the like button if you like this video, and the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content from me. I do have a lot of content coming your way. I am trying to film weekly reading vlogs again. I have a book haul coming next week, and of course I will have some Disney vlogs and content coming to you too. So please go ahead and click the subscribe button and the bell notification icon so that you can be notified when I do post new videos, and that way you won't miss any future videos from me. But that is it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. It truly does mean the world to me, and I will see you soon in my next video. Goodbye!